You see, the reason people quit, they don't take pride in what they do. The harder you work, the harder it is to surrender. And I'm not just talking about business. I'm talking about winning simultaneously in every aspect of life. I'm not concerned with a person that does well in one aspect of their life and they can hang their hat there and say, man, I made a lot of money. You made a lot of money. You're a public success, but you're a private failure. What good is it to make a lot of money and you don't want to go home to your family? What good is it to make a lot of money and you don't take care of your kids? What good is it? You're a public success, but you're a private failure. And so how can we win simultaneously and take pride in everything that we do? And one night, my mother couldn't pick me up, and she called Coach Trey. She said, Coach, I can't make it tonight. Can you please take Inky home? And so he put me and about 8 guys in the back of his pickup truck, and he said, Inky, I'm going to drop you off last. And so when he got to my house, I got out on the sidewalk, and I'm standing in front of 125 Warren Street, and I looked back at Coach Trey. And I said, why are you doing this? Because where I came from, people didn't just help you. It was, I pat you on your back, you got to pat me on my back. You remember I did that for you, you got to do this for me. And I said, why are you doing this? And he looked back at me and he said, son, I want to tell you something. And he said, I don't want you to ever forget it. He said, son, the more you make sure that somebody else's life is okay, God will always make sure that your life is okay. And immediately I got it. The light bulb went off. I stopped being this little selfish kid. I stopped being like my 4-year-old son. And for the first time in my life, I stopped thinking everything was just about Inky Johnson, and I realized my existence on this earth is a lot bigger than me. I realized my lineage and my family, when I step outside of my door in the morning, what I represent is a lot bigger than me. And so the thing I had to understand, every day I woke up and everything that I was a part of, I first had to understand I was representing a lot more than myself. I first had to start living by 2 words, honor and legacy. And what I mean by honor and legacy, you honor the ones that paved the way for you. And you leave a legacy for the ones that's coming behind you. We just have it right now, while we're a part of something right now. Somebody has came before us and paved the way, and somebody will come after us. And so while we have it, how can we do it in such a way that we leave a legacy for the ones that's coming behind us, and we honor the ones that paved the way for us? And so everything I did, I took a certain level of pride in it. People thought I just wanted to be a great football player. What they didn't understand about Inky Johnson was this: I could have washed cars. I guarantee you I would have been the best car washer there was in the world. Because the thing I understood, I wasn't just representing myself. It wasn't just about me. Everything that I did, I shifted my mindset from me to we. Now I was operating with a spirit of collective character, meaning it didn't matter what I did individually.
Every day, week, month, or year is a gift given to us by God. And that gift is given to us to fulfill an assignment. That means that you were sent to earth to complete a task and to fulfill a specific purpose, but you were sent to do it by God within a certain amount of time. So you don't have forever to fulfill your assignment. This is important. You were sent to earth to do something, and you were given a certain amount of time to do it in. So you don't have the luxury of experimenting. And this is the Bible calls a burden. As a matter of fact, the passing of time, and I wrote this from my spirit, the passing of time makes you accountable to God. So the next time you tell somebody Happy New Year, pause and ask, what did I do with it? What did I do with the year that just passed? How much of it did I waste watching television? Being with people who had no interest in success? Being involved in habits that didn't improve my life or my body? What did I spend that year on? We are accountable to God. Why? He gave us a gift. And so when we think of time, I want to read a verse from the book of Job, chapter 14 rather, verse 5. Now, this is a verse you must remember all your life. It says, man's days are determined. That means you don't decide how long you live. Your life is on a timer. The next verse statement says, you have decreed the number of his months and have set limits he cannot exceed.
In fact, the scripture says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. If you only lean to your understanding, you're going to get frustrated because sometimes there is no logical solution. There's no way out in the natural, but we serve a supernatural God. He can make things happen that we couldn't make happen. When Victoria and I had been married about 2 years, we lived in an apartment complex. One evening we were out walking through this nice neighborhood with big trees and beautiful 2-story homes. We came to this one house that was under construction. It was just about finished. It was late in the day. No one was working, so we went to look at it. The front door was unlocked, so we walked in. It was so beautiful. I'll never forget the tall ceilings, the big curved windows. It was all so spacious and well done. As we were walking out the front sidewalk, Victoria stopped, turned around, and said, Joel, one day we're going to live in a house just like this. That was so far out of my thinking, so unbelievable, I couldn't even fathom it. And I started telling her all the reasons why it wasn't going to happen. I said, Victoria, that's impossible. This is how much we make. I work for a ministry. Even if we say for years we wouldn't have enough. I went on and on. That no more affected her. She said, no, Joel, I know down in my spirit it's going to happen. The more she believed, the more aggravated that made me. I did my best to convince her to be a doubter. Come on, we're limited. We'll never have enough. We're at a disadvantage. Her attitude was, no thanks. I know who I am. I am blessed. I am favored. I am anointed. I'm a child of the Most High. I wonder how many times we're doing like I did. I can't get well. Have you seen the medical report? I'll never break this addiction. I've had it since high school. My business will never succeed. I don't have the resources, the connections. All this time, you're focused on the how, thinking about what you can't do, what you don't have. God is saying, let me take care of the how. You just focus on the who. You believe that you're my child. Believe that you have an advantage. Believe that I'm a good father. Believe that I will take care of you, heal you, restore you, favor you, prosper you. We would walk that path several times a week. Every time Victoria would say, there's that house. We're going to live in something like that one day. After hearing that over and over, she started to convince me. You've heard that saying, if you can't beat them, join them. She wasn't going to sink down to where I was, so I decided to rise up to where she was. Don't let people speaking doubt, defeat, negativity cause you to give up on your dreams. Instead of letting them talk you out of it, you need to keep saying it so much that you talk them into it.
And a weird thing happened as I started doing that. I was actually learning a lot more. And so I was able to convey that to the students, and I was able to help the students make their films better. And it made me realize, whoa, there's this weird reciprocal loop.
I'm a college dropout. I was homeless, lived in a car for 3 years. I've lost every single thing I had, family included. I've been written off so many times. But today, the person that you sitting in front of you is a process.
Then next is how you feel about the future. We've got to have the future well designed. The future is called the promise. The promise of the future can be an awesome force.
The harder I work over here, then go and explain it, they actually can take that knowledge and put it to use. Building skill sets, getting better at something. And I started thinking, is that something that I could do for myself? And at that moment, these two very successful entrepreneurs walk into my class. And at that time, I was obsessed with two things. I wanted to get rich, and I wanted six-pack abs. Now, I grew up in a morbidly obese family. So for me, that was real, man. And I used to be 60 pounds heavier than I am now. And I wanted those six-pack abs, man. I just had no idea how I was gonna get it. And I remember the first time that somebody told me, I think you already have abs, it's just under the fat.
I want to talk to you for a moment about the process. Because see, one way to get a person to really follow you is to be the example of what you get, of what you're trying to get them to follow. You know, my daddy used to tell me all the time, he said, son, best thing you can do for poor people is not be one of them, because you can't help the cause. Your brain is divided into two halves, positive and negative, good and evil. Each half of your brain has millions of factory workers on each side. You got 1 million factory workers on the positive side, you got 1 million factory workers on the negative side.
And I thought, what? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Because I had done like a bunch of crunches and I'm like, I still don't see them. So I don't know what the problem is. Maybe it was all the licorice. I had a thing. So these two guys walk in, very accomplished entrepreneurs, ripped, six-pack ab, bodybuilder types, and they said, hey, you're coming to the world with your hand out. If you want to control your art, you have to control your resources. So if you want to get back in the saddle and actually become a filmmaker, you're going to have to learn to control the resources. So come with us, be a copywriter, but understand this is a startup. You can have any role in the company that you want. You just have to become the right person for that job. And so I took them at their word and I pivoted and I left my teaching career, which had safety. And I looked to my wife and I said, this may fail, but I've got to at least give it a shot. And my wife said the words that have become famous for me, which is, I bet on you.
At the forefront of each one of those factories in your brain is a foreman. You got foreman positive and you got foreman negative. You are in charge. You're the boss of the factory. So let me show you how this works. You got a remote control. You go to your house tonight and you press that power button and you press it. When you point it at the TV, what do you expect to happen? You expect TV to come on. You press the power button, you expect the TV to come on. If you want to watch HBO, and HBO is channel 300, and you press 300, and then you press select, what do you expect to come on that TV? And what comes on that TV? So now, since your brain is in two halves, let me show you how this works. You wake up in the morning and you say, man, I don't feel myself today. I got up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm not a morning person.
Now, what my wife was betting on wasn't that I already knew how to do what they wanted me to do, because she knew I didn't. What she was betting on in me is the same thing that each and every one of you have, which is the ability to learn. And so I went into it knowing I was not the right person for any job in that company. I'd never been in a company like that before. I'd been totally focused on film. This was software, it was security software. It was nothing that I had any interest in, but I wanted to get rich. And so I did it. And for 6.5 years, I put my head down, like those early days in my dorm room, and I worked my ass off around the clock. I didn't take vacations, meaning if I went somewhere, I would literally, guys, this is real, I would take a camera so that I could watch what was going on back at the facility.
Designing the future. There's two ways to face the future. One is with apprehension, and the other is with anticipation. I promise you, in my travels around the world, most people face the future with apprehension. And here's why. They don't have it well designed. They've sort of left that up to someone else to fix. But here's the best way to face the future, with anticipation. You can face the future with anticipation if the future is clear, if the future is well designed. In setting goals, it's very simple. Number one, decide what you want. You just take a little time. You sit down and say, what do I want? What kind of skills do I want? What kind of income do I want for the future? Where would I like to go? Places I'd like to visit. Habits I'd like to acquire. Skills I'd like to have.
Right? So everything. I'm down here, Equalizer 1, 2. If he come out with 6, I'm going to see that joint. And Equalizer 1 and 2 is the same movie. It ain't nothing different about it, but Denzel in that Joker. And I'm like, Denzel, let's go. So I fell in love with Denzel, I guess, maybe back in the day, like with Malcolm X, Glory, right? So I go see anything Denzel. So Denzel said he had a coach. And I looked at my life and I was like, yo, I don't got a coach. I need to get a coach. Denzel is paying somebody to help him act, and that's probably why he the best. Because somebody else probably is an actor, and guess what happened? The more opportunities they got, the more cocky they got, because they were getting roles and they probably fell off. So we could probably name some actors that were sweet 10 years ago that you don't see today. Denzel's still out there, he's still the man, right? So I was like, I'm giving me a coach. So Anthony Flynn was in my circle already, and he was like, he's the CEO.
Economics, friendships, people you'd like to meet. When you've thought about what you want for the future, make a list. If the future gets clear, the price gets easier. Because you got to remember, for every promise, there's a price to pay. Everybody's got to pay the price. Everybody's got to do the deal. Everybody's got to do the disciplines. But here's what I've discovered. If the promise is clear and powerful, the price is easy to pay. The price is some classes. The price is a few books. The price is a few disciplines. The price is finding something that'll make your life better, make you grow, make you change, make you develop. So the first part of the key is to design the promise. Then, what is the price to pay? I'm telling you, the price will be easy. No matter where you are, where you come from. Color doesn't matter, religion doesn't matter, where you grew up doesn't matter, circumstances don't matter. I'm telling you, if you'll make the promise of the future clear for yourself.
Coach, you know, he the CEO, coach's coach. I'm like, all right, then, if you coach CEO, I'm a CEO. I need to get coached. And I remember we went in this room in the Westin Hotel. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning. And I remember he broke some stuff down to me, and I had the best 2019 I ever had. Imagine you getting coached and you super talented. I was just living off talent. I had no focus or direction. I was just like, turn the light on, go. You know what I'm saying? I saved so much time and so much energy that in 2020, I'm able to lead a corporate arena and I'm just doing schools. You feel what I'm saying? Like the coaching was so sweet that the area I dominated in, I'm coming out of the arena. And I'm focusing on schools, because what did I learn when I was here's the crazy thing. He was like, all right, E, you all over the place. You got a million ideas, but we're gonna do 3 buckets, right? And I knew the 3 buckets was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna work with you because you're talented, so I'm gonna give you 3 buckets, but that's a lot.
If you are capable of causing depression to yourself, I'm saying this not without any concern for your illness or not due to lack of compassion, because that is the nature of what's happening to you. If you're causing depression to yourself, you are able to generate substantial amount of intense emotions and thoughts, but in the wrong direction. If you don't have very strong emotions, very intense thoughts about something, you cannot get depressed. It is just that you are generating thoughts and emotion which work against you, not for you. So you are strong enough to cause depression to yourself, because for you to cause a mental illness for yourself, unless you're pathologically ill, which is just a small number of people, rest are all self-created. Most of them are self-created. A few are pathologically ill, they cannot help it. It just comes from within because of genetic and other factors. Almost everybody here, if we train them towards a certain kind of thought process and emotion and push them a little bit with the outside situations, almost everybody will go lose their mental balance. They will become clinically ill. They can be driven to madness, I'm saying, because the line between sanity and insanity is very thin. People keep pushing it, You get angry, you're pushing the line. It's a thin line. In fact, when you get angry, you know you're pushing the line. That's why the expression, I was mad at somebody. You're not mad at somebody, you're just going mad. You cannot be mad at somebody. You're just pushing your sanity, the boundaries of sanity, and moving into insanity for a certain period of time and coming back. You do one thing every day, you try this. 10 minutes a day, try intense anger on somebody. You will see in 3 months' time, you will be clinically there. Yes, just try it if you want, because if you keep pushing the line, you go mad and you come back, you go mad and you come back, one day you're not able to come back, that's all. One day you're not able to turn back, then you're clinically ill. You must understand, even if you got angry for a moment, you're already ill. Maybe you don't get the certificate of diagnosis. They don't slap a certificate on you that you're gone, but you are going, isn't it? You think it's your right to throw tantrums? You think it's your right to get angry with people? You think it's your privilege to be depressed so that you'll get attention from somebody? You keep playing this, one day you will not be able to turn back.
From occasionally you may experience low levels of physical energy, and this can affect the mind too. The important thing is, first of all, when you talk about being depressed and so on, to see whether there is… what kind of thoughts are being created in your mind during that time. Ask yourself whether, or examine whether the certain types of thinking create that feeling of depression. Thoughts like, oh, it's all pointless anyway, or what's the point of it all, I hate this world, there's no point in even struggling anymore, I'm fed up, completely fed up with life, I can't take anymore. That type of thinking. Are you aware what is the relationship between the emotion that you feel and your thought processes? Are perhaps your thoughts creating that emotion? Or could it be that the emotion is creating the thoughts? So when you are depressed, there will be certain thoughts going through your mind, and probably there will not be pleasant thoughts. So be aware of the relationship between what you're feeling, this depressed feeling of sadness, depression, you feel dejected, and your thought processes. And if in the moment of thinking, those types of thought that accompany the feeling of depression or pointlessness, if you can be there and observe those thoughts, then again, as in the first question, answer to the first question, when you recognize those thoughts, you no longer completely believe in them. You recognize them as a conditioned movement in your mind, and then you may be able to come to an acceptance of whatever it is you're feeling at this moment without adding the baggage of thought to it. So what remains then is this feeling of perhaps low energy, or it could be an activation of your pain body to some extent. You feel emotion in you that doesn't feel good, but you're then no longer fueling it with your thinking. So if there's enough awareness in you while you're going through a period of depression, allow yourself to feel what it is you're feeling, but be careful that you don't fuel it with your thinking. And if you feel what you feel, that's all you have to do is surrender to your experience of this moment. You accept your experience of this moment, which at this moment may be not pleasant, but that's what is inside you.
Practice bravery training. You know, you want to be a great footballer. We understand you've got to put in the time to practice. You want to be a great chef. We understand you've got to do the practice. You want to be a great entrepreneur. You've got to put in the hours of rigor and discipline building your business. You want to be a great chess champion. Of course, they're obsessed monomaniacally with practice. And yet when it comes to fear, we don't live in a society that values bravery training. You don't really hear people saying, go out and use this day to practice becoming fearless. And yet, you know, we all know the 10,000-hour rule. We all know the 10-year rule pioneered by Anders Ericsson at University of Florida, the preeminent researcher in the field of exceptional performance. And that 10-year rule has now been popularized by a lot of authors. But what he found was this: if you look at any great performer, they had one thing in common. They spent the equivalent of 10 years or 10,000 hours practicing their skill before the first signs of genius showed up. And so to become fearless, why not find some time every day to practice becoming fearless? Why not use whatever irritates you or frustrates you or frightens you during your day as bravery training? So let's say your supervisor walks in and says, you know, tomorrow I'd like to give you to give a presentation on that project you did so brilliantly on. And start to pay attention. You notice you start to feel afraid. Develop the mindset where you say, okay, I'm going to say yes, because that is bravery training. Let's say you go home and with your intimate partner, you want to speak up, you want to say something. Maybe you want to ask for more love. Maybe you want to ask for one of your needs to be met because you feel it's unmet. But then you feel, well, what if he or she judges me? What if I get laughed at? What if they think I'm strange? Develop the mindset where you recognize that everything that scares you is bravery training. Okay, so what I'm suggesting on the first insight is really practice becoming fearless, and you will become a fearless human being.
Let me give you 3 ways to find out how to change anything. Any life direction, any dimension. Here's 3 ways to find out how to change anything. Number 1 is to read. Become a good reader. All of the successful people I know and work with around the world, they're all good readers. Curiosity drives them to read. They gotta know. They just read. Become a good reader. Now that's my opinion. Listen to the other lecturers and listen to me and make up your own mind. Don't be a follower, be a student. Okay? I say, really, for life change, you gotta read. One way to learn is from your own experiences, but another way to learn is from other people's experiences. See, one book might save you 5 years if you read it. Did you know there's books on how to be stronger, more decisive, be a speaker, be a leader, have a better effect on other people, develop your personality? Did you know there's books on that? And people don't read them? How would you explain that? And they can read. Did you know that hundreds of successful people have written their stories in books and they wrote down how they did it and people don't read it? How would you explain that? The guy's busy, I guess. You know, you get tied up. The guy says, well, yeah, you work where I work. By the time you struggle home, it's late. You got to eat a bite of supper, watch a little TV, get to bed. You can't sit up half the night reading. And the guy's behind on his car payment. Good worker, hard worker, sincere. But you got to be better than sincere. And work hard. Otherwise, at the end of your life, you'll wind up cold, stony broke. You got to be better than a good worker. You got to be a good reader. Get around successful people and listen. Now, you can also learn from unsuccessful people. Take notes on both. Negative and positive. On the negative, the notes are called what not to do. And you got to learn what not to do as well as what to do. So learn from the negative as well as the positive. Okay? Find out what poor people read and don't read it. Right? That's good information. Learn from the negative. But now you can also learn from the positive. Get around successful people. Listen to what they say. Listen to how they say it. It's important. We've all got about 16 waking hours. Practice listening those 16 hours. And I say practice listening because listening isn't easy. I found out it's easier to talk than it is to listen. But if you will practice listening the 16 hours you're awake, sure enough, from surprising sources comes great ideas. In sales training we teach, if you want to learn sales, listen to the kids. Kids have got to be the master salespeople of all time. They have no equal. Father tells his young son, no, you cannot have an ice cream cone. 30 minutes later, he's licking on one. That'd be 30 minutes worth listening to. They got moves you wouldn't believe. Persistence runs deep like the ocean. And the kids never took a class on how to overcome objections. They already know how. They don't need classes. You tell kids no. That goes right on by. They give you 3 good reasons. Just say no. It goes right on by. They give you 3 more. They're masters. So listen and learn. Now here's some of the best advice I've got for the whole evening. It won't get any better than this. This is it. Poor people ought to take rich people out to dinner and listen. That's some of the best I got. If a guy's not doing well, one of the first things he ought to do is find a guy that is doing well and offer to buy him his dinner. Spend $50, $60, $80, $100. Go for the full 9 course. Start him on the juices and hors d'oeuvres. Get him started talking. The salad takes 15 minutes. Keep it rolling. Biggest steak in town takes 45. Keep it rolling. Pour on the dessert. Stretch that meal out about 2 hours. If you get a successful person to eat and talk for 2 hours, they're liable to drop ideas in your lap, change your life. Multiply your income by 2, by 3, by 5. But you're right. Poor people don't usually take rich people out to dinner. That's the problem. The guy said he's rich, let him buy his own dinner. I'm not coming up with any money. And he says, besides, you work where I work. By the time you struggle home, it's late. You're lucky to get your own supper, let alone running around trying to find a rich man to feed. And the guy's behind on his house payment. Good worker, hard worker, sincere. But you got to be better than sincere. Work hard. You wind up broke. You got to be better than a good worker. You got to be a good listener. And remember, what you read and what you hear, put the good stuff in your journal. Now here's the third way to find out how to change your life. And that's to observe. You can pick up a lot of ideas just by watching. Get around successful people and watch. Here's why. Success leaves clues. Watch how the man shakes hands. Watch how the lady responds. People who do well do certain things over and over and over and over. And if you're clever, you can pick them up.
watch it all. If a guy's making $10,000 a month, I'd watch how he walks. Maybe that's it. Copy his funny little walk. Somebody says, well, that's kind of a silly walk. Say it's 10,000. I haven't got the money yet, but I got the walk. It's bound to start somewhere. What I ask you tonight is to be unusual and be a good observer of what's going on. You can pick up ideas that can change your life starting tomorrow. Just be a more careful observer. Now remember, there's two ways to see. One is called sight. See with your eyes. The other one is called insight. See with your mind. See with your eyes, you'll see things. See with your mind, you'll see answers. Put your eyes and your mind to work. And the best advice on developing sight and insight is pay attention. Don't miss anything. In the weekend seminar we teach, one of the greatest fatalities to success is preoccupation, lack of concentration. The guy's mind wanders. See, you wind up average. You've got to learn to zero in and concentrate. I read a good article one time, Reader's Digest. The title was, Wherever You Are, Be There. Excellent. Don't miss anything.
And isn't life like that? Every single day we get taken off course. You know, we get busy versus focused. We want to do the run or we want to do the workout, but there's a seduction by some kind of a distraction. We have an ideal of being world class in our work, but there's an attraction to sort of taking a little shortcut. And so literally every single day is an opportunity to get back on course with that needle of your world class ideals. And so I wanted to offer you some ideas that have really served me well, because I'm just like you, I'm trying to aspire to the top of the mountain over the course of the rest of my life. And the first idea that life has really taught me is really this: small wins matter. I mean, we sometimes think that an epic life occurs one sunny Friday afternoon when the stars line up and something revolutionary occurs. And what I'm suggesting to you with great love and great respect is a great life is built not by revolution. A great life is built by evolution. Small and steady wins the race. What you do every day is far more important than what you do once every decade. I want you to really think about that idea. What you do every day is simply your life in miniature. And as you live every single day, so you're crafting your life. What you do over the next hours is really building your future. And if you can just get, and I can just get every single pocket of 24 hours right as best as we humanly can, the rest of our life is going to take care of itself. So small wins matter. You know, the moment in front of the customer where the pull was to go average and you become merchant of wow sets you up for the next day of a way of being of wow. The little win with your family when you feel like watching TV sets you up for another win the next day. A little win of getting up at 5 o'clock and running your morning routine sets you up for a habit of a 5 a.m. club morning routine. Small daily improvements over time will lead you to stunning results. Tiny wins are the way to greatness. And that's one of the things life has taught me. When you look at the great companies, whether it's an Amazon, whether it's some of the tech startups coming out right now, whether it's a Zappos, whether it's a FedEx, whether it's a Nike, whether it's a General Electric, whether it's some of the little shops in your neighborhood that we really admire because people still cook the food with love, or they serve the food with love, or people have an attention to detail. Great companies are built by those small, steady optimizations every single day. If you look at any great product, it wasn't just one day that built the great product. It was a culture and a mindset of daily innovation and optimization when done consistently over time, which led to world class.
Let me show you this. We all live inside a bubble, right? This is our world. We go to church here, we work over here, we go get our coffee over here, we go to this park over here, we usually go over here to, you know, hang out with friends. This is our favorite club. This is our world. This is our favorite spot on the beach. We all live in this bubble. What you gotta do to get the life that God wants you to have, you gotta put more air in your bubble. You got to blow your bubble up. Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. Do not live in your bubble. Put some more air in your bubble. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. You will fail in your comfort zone. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful. Start putting some pressure on. Put some pressure on yourself. Get out here and get about it. Look, I'd love to sugarcoat this thing for you. I'd love to tell you, look, you can go out here and get rich, do a couple of things. That ain't happening. You got to get real doggish. You got to get downright funky if you want to make it. Now, like I was telling you before, if you want to be ordinary, you ain't even got to listen to me. Just go on about your business. If you think ordinary is cool, ain't no problem. It's some really, really wonderful ordinary people. But if you are sitting in this room and you have extraordinary aspirations, then you're going to have to do extra. You put extra on top of ordinary, and you come up with extraordinary. It's no other way. I'm sorry, but here's the fact. All of you have extraordinary capabilities, all of you. You have to decide if you are willing to do the things to put you in that category. Rich people don't sleep 8 hours a day. That's a third of your life. It ain't but 24 hours in a day. You cannot be sleep 8 hours a day. You can't live in LA and wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. The stock market been open 2 hours. They already making decisions about your life and your ass was asleep. The Bible says, he who loves to sleep and the folding of hands, poverty will set upon you like a thief in the night.
It took me a long time to understand what sacrifice meant. Because on the surface of it, especially the way it's acted out, like burnt offerings and that sort of thing, it just seems like, well, it seems so archaic and distant from us that it's not really comprehensible. But partly from reading Jean Piaget, and Nietzsche for that matter, I started to understand that people often acted out conceptions before they understood what they meant. You know, and we act out a lot of things we don't understand because we're much more complex than we can represent. So we're always acting out things we don't understand. But so there's this idea in Cain and Abel that you have to make sacrifices in order to stay on the good side of God. And so I thought about that practically, say, not so much metaphysically, but practically, and realized that that was equivalent to the discovery of time, of the future, because we do act, and this is a peculiar discovery of human beings, and maybe a consequence of our expanded intelligence, is that we're actually aware of the future. We actually treat the future as if it's something that you can bargain with. Now, partly it's because the future is other people, and they remember your reputation, they remember your past actions, and if you do someone a favor, then that favor is in some sense stored up in the future. So you can think about the future as a place of judgment about your moral actions. And it's not that far from that to imagining a God who's keeping track of that, or who even is that. But in any case, the idea of sacrifice emerges in the story of Cain and Abel. And Cain and Abel both make sacrifices to God in order to stay on his good side, let's say. And what a sacrifice means is that you give up something of value in the present so that you can improve the future. And you know, that's no different from what we call discipline. It's exactly the same thing. It's just that concretely acted out version of that. And so, you know, the idea basically was that, well, God was in the transcendent heavens. And the first question would be, well, why is that? And it's like, well, if you go out on a really dark night and look up at the sky, you have a sense of what's beyond you, what's transcendent, what's infinite. And so to associate that with the highest of values is a reasonable association, right, from an emotional point of view. So it's not particularly primitive. It's a smart metaphor, or it's a smart intuition. and it's above you. And you know, we tend to think of when you're moving towards an ideal that you're moving up, that you're moving above, you're moving to the mountaintop, right? You're going up, not down. And so it all sits within that same framework, and it's partly because when you go up, like on a mountain, you can see for long distances, right? So all those things are tangled together. So anyways, so the idea is that you have to give up something of value now so that you make the future better. And sometimes it's even something you love now, and that's a good example too, because often the things that stop us from moving forward are our attachments to things that we should no longer be attached to, right? And in fact, you can almost make that definitional. If you're not moving forward in your life, there's a high probability that you have some idea or some mode of action or some habit that you're so in love with that you won't let go of it.